Mr. Richard? Mr. Willie? Mr. Matthews? Mr. Davis? Mr. Doherty? Mr. Drum? Mr. Randolph? Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Announcements. If it's time, if you would please silence all phones and electronic devices. If you wish to appeal anything that this commission may rule upon, appeals cards are to our right. We would also ask that you fill out a speaker's card for our records. Each side will be given 10 minutes with 5 minutes of rebuttal. And lastly, at the end of each case, if you wish to discuss it further, we would ask you exit the building, as if you go back into the lobby area, it does echo back into the chamber. This time I would ask you to stand with an invocation by Commissioner Randolph, followed by the pledge by Commissioner Matthews.
Gracious Father, once again we come to you with bowed down heads and lifted heart to say thank you for all the blessings you bestowed on our lives. Even with the heat index, the hot weather, you still found favor in us to lead, guide, and protect us. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for this commission, the citizens we serve, this government that we serve and represent all of us, and help us to make decisions that's in the best interest of all. In all these blessings we ask. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. In our package, we do have the minutes from the July 7th, 2015 meeting. I would entertain any motion after reading.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Matthews, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask for a vote. Motion carries. Staff, are there any cases you wish to postpone?
Yes, actually. We have a request to withdraw a case, which is number 6, ZC 15-08064, and Mr. Shane is here to confirm the request to withdraw.
Thank you. 064.
08064.
Mr. Shane, I'll read the case and then any comment that you may have. ZC 15-08-064, existing zoning, Highway Commercial 2 and A4 Single Family Residential District, the proposed zoning HC3 Highway Commercial District, the parcel 1.7 acres, the petitioner Jeffrey D. Shane, the owner Russell B. Gurin, Lawrence J. McEvoy, Betty Bernard McElvey, William Edmund Monday, Dorian Fanner Monday, Stephen Ellis Rogers, Phyllis Rogers, Roy Patrick Viola, and Janine Frost Viola. The parcel is located on the north side of U.S. Highway 190 east of I-10 Service Road, west of Walnut Street, Ward 8, District 13. Mr. Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm in Covington, P.O. Box 1810. I represent Circle K, which was the prospective purchaser of this property, in hopes of placing a convenience store, gas station, and car wash at this location. My client has elected not to proceed with the acquisition of the property at this time, and we wish to withdraw this case from your docket.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. The petitioner has requested withdrawal. We recognize that for the record. There is no motion to be made. Staff, is there any other postponements or withdrawals? ZC 15-07-053, existing zoning, A2 Suburban District, proposed zoning, HC2 Highway Commercial District, the parcel 3.08 acres. Petitioner, council motion. The owner, Edsel and Anita Jones. The parcel is located on the southeast corner of Weimer Road and Williams Road, west of Louisiana Highway 437, Lee Road, being 19416 Weimer Road, Covington, Ward 3, District 2. Staff?
The 2025 Future Land Use Plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses. Staff does not see any compelling reason to recommend approval, considering that the site is surrounded by residential uses, with the exception of the abutting fire station and existing office warehouse located on the site. Staff recommends request for HC2 designation be denied.
Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this? Yes, sir. Please approach the podium and state your name and address.
David Remont, 312 Robin Hood Road, Covington. I'm the owner of record of 19350, where my daughter lives behind the Lloyd's house. We had problems seeing the sign to start with because it's facing the road. When you're going down this road, it's a very narrow road. You cannot pass a bus unless you stop and let the bus pass. We had 18-wheelers get caught in that corner. We have no idea what is wanting to be done here, but we don't see how you could possibly put a commercial area in the middle of all these residential lots. On top of that, it's a very narrow road, and Williams is even narrower. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to comment on this case? Is the petitioner? Okay, the petitioner, you're the petitioner, sir? Yes, if you would please approach the podium, state your name.
My name is Edsel Jones, Jr. I'm representing my mother, Anita Jones, owner of the property.
And you would like to have this zoning changed?
Yes, it was, you know, that's been in their ownership for 42 years, and they had a business in it for 40 of those years, and they recently closed that business, and we're just trying to get it rezoned for a small mom and pop type business where we can generate a little income. It's fenced on 3 sides. The only visual you have of the shop is from the houses directly across the street. There's one mobile home and one home that are in direct view of it, so it's pretty much self-contained. All the fences have grown and you really can't even see it. And we would certainly be sensitive to the area, to the committee, and to the residents. We don't want it to be, not that it would be, it's pretty remote property as far as, you know, attracting Walmart or, you know, somebody big that's going to cause a lot of traffic. And so I think it's well done. It's been done for a long time, and we would certainly continue that wellness of it if we were allowed to get the commercial zoning, which it had had for 42 years.
And I am correct in reading this that the petition came forth through council, not directly from you? It says petitioner is a council motion.
I'm not sure. I don't know. We came here once before and did this. I don't know who petitioned it, I guess.
Okay. Staff, is that correct? It came through council? Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of the petition? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the petition? Yes, sir. Please come to the podium, state your name, and if you haven't, fill out a speaker's card. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Gregory Folse. Live at 75093 Williams Road. And this is my wife, Beverly McCoy. And we'd like to comment that the property, and Mr. Jones has specified that there is an existing commercial type property there. And it's a warehouse. It was an AC and heating business. And but he's not mentioned what he's going to do with the rest of it. That's not 3 acres worth of land. And I thought originally it was 5 acres, but maybe I'm hallucinating. It's been pared down. See, and that's the uncertainty that we have, is that if we just heard Mr. Shane speak and say that Circle K could put a car wash, a convenience store, and a gas station on 1.7 acres, then what is to become of the balance of this land? Is it going to get paved over and put up another building? Are we going to have 3 businesses there? One? Because I just can't, I know he said he would like to maintain the integrity of that neighborhood, but he's not under any obligation to do that. And once that zoning change is issued, that's it. It's Katie bar the door. He can petition to have other businesses built on that same property. And my wife and I measured the street. The street is very narrow. I think a standard lane is 12 feet wide, right? 24
Weimer
feet.
Road is 17.1 feet. Williams Road at the stop sign at Weimer is only 19 feet. And then down by our driveway, Williams Road is only 16.1, of 16 feet 1 inch. It's very narrow, very difficult for even 2 cars to pass.
So who's going to pay for the infrastructure improvement here to be able to get trucks in and out of there? And the inconvenience of the residential neighborhood to have to wait behind trucks going in and out. Plus, the parish just spent money to widen Planche Road. Not much. It went from 1 lane to 1.5 lanes. I think we're probably around 14 feet. So it's a bit of a challenge. And we work with the school bus people, you know, pull out. But you know, what's going to happen to Planche Road? That's going to increase the traffic on Planche, too. And once again, it's a very dangerous intersection. There's a Lollapalooza of an accident there every month. And there's been people killed on Lee Road in that area. So.
And the speed limit on Lee Road as you pass William is 55 miles an hour at the current time.
So if
coming south.
I'm sorry. If the waiver was to be, the change was to be granted, we would petition that the parish or somebody put in a left turn lane, widen Weimer Road at least to the entrance of the building, make sure that entrance and egress is sufficient, that the drainage be improved because that's a very low area, and if you add more concrete, you're going to increase the runoff. So I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done if it was considered to be overturned or repealed. And that's what I have to say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none at this time, I close it to the public and I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Mr. Jones.
I'm sorry? Oh, excuse me. Mr. Jones, would you wish to rebut?
No, I'm good. Thought you called me up.
Okay, come on up. It's a little unclear. Exactly what was the existing business that was for 40 years?
An air conditioning business.
And that is what you intend to do with it?
Well, no, I just want to rent it to, you know, someone hopefully similar to that, a mom and pop type business. I mean, it's not going to be, you know, a big trucking company or whatever. It's a small, it's got 5 or 6 offices in the front, warehouse in the back. So I don't really know what to expect. I think it would be a very hard rent to start off with, but I just feel like I have to try, you know, so.
So it's not going to be an air conditioning business what it was for 40
No,
years?
I'm just going to try and
Just
list
rent it out for
right.
office space or?
Correct, office and warehouse space.
I think one of the biggest concerns, what I'm hearing, is the 3.08 acres as far as rezoning that amount of the land.
Right, well,
Is it
it's
possible we could rezone just where the building is?
we could, but I'm not real up on all zoning and land deal, but the property is kind of L-shaped. Part of it goes behind the fire station, which we sold to the fire station, and which to me makes it kind of a commercial entity, if you will, those two side by side. But if you cut off that part, which I think is what makes it to 3 acres, you end up kind of landlocked with the commercial and the other 1 acre or so behind the fire station becomes useless, I would assume.
Okay, how big is the building square foot wise?
In the 4,000, a little over 4,000, that's total.
Helen, is there anything that he can arrange this where he could possibly rezone less land?
Yes, I mean, you can.
You know, to make it, you know, to work for his business as well.
I mean, 1 acre of land, you can reduce it to 1 acre.
I mean, I really have trouble, you know, rezoning the whole 3.08 acres, being in the middle of, you know, it's in a residential area, but again, it was an existing business.
Yeah, I mean, it was
Is there any way you can work that
I only
out?
know of 2 new houses that I've seen go up back there, so I mean, they've been there forever, you know, kind of doing the same thing. So I don't know if that means anything, but it's the future, I guess, which none of us can predict. So we would certainly try and rent it if possible to someone sympathetic to the residential area.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes, Mr. Jones. Before the re-subdivision, making this a A2, this was suburban agriculture, correct?
I'm not sure.
This was actually never zoned commercial. This property was suburban agriculture, and I guess your parents or somebody placed a business out there, is that correct?
Well, it was a business before they bought it. They bought it from the bank. It was
Okay,
it was
but
a
I mean,
business.
it was suburban agriculture before that. I do have a problem with making this highway commercial too, because you can put a lot of stuff on highway commercial too, and just because you say you're gonna do it in this one little building, doesn't make it true. Also, I'm looking at your plat. The original plat said 5.229 acres. Did
Right.
you donate the property to the fire?
I don't think so. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it was sold.
Okay, it was sold by, but didn't you own the property, 5.22 acres
Correct.
initially?
Correct.
So who was sold by who?
Either Covington Air Conditioning or Edsel Jones Sr.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the area, and as far as what you put out there, that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about the zoning, but just looking at the area and looking at the residences, I can't make a motion to make this highway commercial too. I think that's extremely intense.
Commissioner Casabon?
Yes, so you still own the property. Do you propose to sell this after it's rezoned, or you would like to keep it? It is family property.
No, yeah, we're going to keep it, right.
You're going to keep it.
Correct.
So you would have control over adding on or making it bigger and the
Correct.
storage. But I agree, if you could have a right-of-way to the back of the fire station, you know, it wouldn't be landlocked if we did that. I think in order to make the neighbors comfortable with this, that I agree with Mr. Willie that maybe we could take half of it, like an acre and a half, since it's already, would that fit on the 4,000 square building fit on?
I think so, but I mean, it's kind of.
With storage, with the parking lot and everything, that I think this is gonna be the only way that you can, even consider rezoning it to commercial, that if the neighbors were confident that it couldn't blow up into something big, like the whole 3 acres be developed into something else. If you do rent it to someone and they come in.
I'm not sure. I think it's close to an acre, that L shape that goes behind there, so I'm thinking we could X that out and, just zone the
Come
building
straight.
in the immediate area around it, which I would guess would be 2 acres or close to it.
To that. Well, I don't consider this spot zoning because it was there for so many years and it was nothing but commercial. I was raised in this area, and businesses, it's like we're penalizing businesses and landowners now because the growth, people have grown up around them, and now they have their property, and it would be, to me, that you're losing property value because he was using it as commercial. There's a store in front of it that has been commercial, and the people that have moved in and built there have known that and
Right.
aware of what was there, and the building is there. It's not like we're starting with a new building, that the building has been there. But I do see the concerns of the other councilman, that large a piece being commercial, that if your purpose for going back to commercial is that you could rent the building, is that we limit the amount of property, connected to the building. And I think that would give the residents around the area, that's their complaint, that it,
Sure.
What will come in.
Yeah,
So that's what I'm looking at.
That's fine with me if that makes it work.
With that. Would you, no timeline or anything, be willing to reduce the size, but I guess we'd have to have Helena different survey or what?
A revised legal description would have to be provided. So if you go with 1 acre, we'll have to, draw
Or whatever
the
it would
area.
take for the building and enough parking or, the storage or whatever around that building. But other than that, I don't see I can see the concerns of everybody involved, that it's a little bit too much to have rezoned. But if the goal is to be able to rent the building, that,
Looks like that northern half of the L shape would be suitable. I don't know exactly what you're.
I'm
told.
sorry?
The northern half of that L shape would be a suitable piece of property.
May I suggest, if you look at the aerial, you see the building, and it appears to me that along Williams Road, and if you decide to go forward with a motion, there's, if you rezone the property in the front, but leave a 10-foot setback behind the building, which is what is required, then there should be enough room to create another parcel in the rear if they would want to sell it separately. The minimum lot size would be 1 acre, the minimum lot width is 150 feet under that particular zoning. So it would make it 2 parcels.
Yeah, it's gonna be up to Mr. Jones to, make that amendment or that choice.
would you still need that legal description
Yeah.
on that? We'll have to redo.
You have to subdivide.
You get to come back. All right. Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Mr. Jones, I'm going to make a motion to table one more time or postpone it one more time until, I think you can see how the council, the commission feels at this point in time. That also, Helen, I have a question in order for him to use this, is there a lower classification that he could use in order, is it because of the warehouses and the size of the building?
It's because of the size of the building.
The size of the building.
And if it would be 2 uses, but because the size of the building is over 3,000 square feet.
Okay.
If you go to an HC1, it'll make it a legal non-conforming.
Okay. The HC1, all right. I'm going to make a motion to postpone
Till
and
next meeting?
look, pardon?
Until next meeting?
Yes. mhm.
Okay. So we have a motion
And
by
then let-
Commissioner Casabon to postpone until next month's meeting. Second by Commissioner Matthews. Commissioner, is there no further questions? Commissioner Davis?
Just one more question. When did this stop being a viable business?
Stop?
Yeah, when did it stop being a viable business?
I'm
How
not
long
sure.
ago?
2008, I think, 9.
So it's been 6 years since anything's been happening in that
Well,
business?
I had a business in there also, and I think at one time, it was rezoned, I think years ago, once before, and trailers and nothing else was supposed to be in there, and then trailers came in. But from what, this is memory, which is dangerous. It was rezoned a long time ago, and we were, I think, grandfathered in as long as my dad or myself had some kind of legitimate business going in there. And I had my dad's air conditioning business. I'm not sure when it stopped, but I had a continuous business in there until 2012.
It was
Okay.
a limousine.
We have a motion to postpone by Commissioner Casabon, a second by Commissioner Matthews. Please vote. Motion to postpone carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
ZC 15-07-054. Existing zoning, NC4 Neighborhood Institutional District and A3 Suburban District. Proposed zoning, HC2 Highway Commercial District, the parcel 1.97 acres. Petitioner, council motion. The owner, Wesley Sergi. Location, parcel located on the north side of US Highway 190, east of K Drive, Ward 9, District 11. Postponed from the July 7th, 2015 meeting. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the site to be developed with commercial uses. Staff does not see any compelling reason to increase the intensity of the zoning in the area. Note that the property was zoned C2 Highway Commercial in 2009 before the comprehensive rezoning, and at this time, staff would like to recommend denial of the request.
Thank you. Is the petitioner or the owner here? Please approach the podium, sir, and state your name and address.
My name's Lawrence Hike Jr. I'm here on behalf of Wesley Sergi. Mr. Sergi purchased this property subject to the rezoning from suburban agriculture to C2 commercial. The property was actually petitioned to be rezoned prior to the closing. The only reason he didn't proceed on his construction plans is because of a lot of personal financial reasons. But regardless, after his wife passed away and they were doing the succession, they discovered that the property had been rezoned. He didn't even know about it. So now he wants to develop the property, and he can't because it's been downzoned. So that's why we're petitioning to put the zoning back to where we petitioned to have it in the first place, or as close as possible.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the zoning change? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I would close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Drum.
Mr. Pike. What does
Sir.
Mr. Sergi want to do with that property?
Office warehouse, 6,000 square foot office warehouse.
He wants to use that whole piece or just
Yes,
the
sir,
front?
the whole piece. But he was going to buffer it. There was, I think the agreement was he was going to keep a buffer between it and the residential development behind it, with a high fence and some tree line. And let me remind the staff that this property is right next to a sod dealer and a mechanic shop.
Does he own the property behind there? I mean, is that his house behind that?
No,
property?
sir. No.
Thank you.
Commissioner Dougherty?
My question's basically, along with Kirk, that back 1.05 acres, he would not consider staying with the residential zoning on that, because you're going back into a residential area with a pretty intense commercial zoning, and I really have a concern about that.
That was residential zoning the first time y'all approved the rezoning. Those houses were there the first time. Those aren't new houses. They've been there. I mean, this was all, I mean, my whole point is we bought the property subject, to that rezoning, and you approved it. It was given to us. We petitioned it.
Back in '99?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then we had comprehensive rezoning after that.
I can't comment on the comprehensive rezoning because I'm still trying to figure it out. I handle a lot of commercial real estate in St. Tammany Parish, and I still can't figure it out. Some of the things I've run across is, this is a situation that this man bought this property for a purpose, and now he can't use it, and he's not real happy about it. And I'm here because, of his health issues.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have a problem supporting the whole area going to HC2. That's too intense of a zoning. It's gonna be encroaching on, a residential area, so, you know, we'll take it where it goes. Thank you.
Commissioner Matthews.
Mr. Pike,
Yes, sir.
this property had been zoned C2 in the past,
Yes, sir.
and we came in and we completely rezoned the entire parish. We looked at every piece of property in the parish. Then the council looked at it after we looked at it. And just because something was residential doesn't mean in 2014, when it was rezoned, that it needed to still be residential. And likewise, if it was commercial in 99, does not mean today it needs to still be commercial. So the fact that it was C2 in the past is of interest, but it's what should it be zoned today? And what was it rezoned in the comprehensive rezoning? And when we did that and the council approved it, the front part of this piece of property, we agreed needed to be commercial. However, we said it needed to be in C4 because of the surrounding properties. I have a problem with rezoning this entire piece of property just because it had been zoned commercial in the past. Today is a whole different story. There are businesses next to it, and that front part, I could agree to rezone it at least in C1 and possibly in C2. But the back portion is right in the middle of a subdivision, and there are houses right next to this. And we would be putting HC2, which would allow like 39 different fairly intense commercial uses right in the middle of that subdivision. And I don't see how we could allow that. So I'm going to make a motion to deny.
A motion by Commissioner Matthews to deny, a second by Commissioner Dougherty. Commissioner Casabon.
Oh, my light was on.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Again, we have a motion by Commissioner Matthews to deny, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Please vote, and I would advise that, again, an affirmative vote is to deny. Motion to deny carries. ZC 15-08-061, existing zoning A4, single-family residential district, proposed zoning ED1, primary education district, the parcel 1.83 acres, the petitioner Jeffrey D. Shane, the owner Pine Creek Development LLC, the location parcel located on the east side of Pearlou Road, north of Louisiana Highway 22, Ward 1, District 4. Staff.
The 2025 Future Land Use Plan calls for the site to be developed with residential uses. Staff does not have any objections to the request, considering that the site is directly abutting a site developed with an elementary school zoned ED1. Staff recommends the request for ED1 designation be approved.
Mr. Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm, P.O. Box 1810 in Covington, and I have the pleasure of representing the St. Tammany Parish School Board, which has purchased these 4 lots along Pearlou Road in connection with its campus for Lancaster Elementary School located on Highway 22 west of Madisonville. We had an opportunity to acquire this property. We do not have a specific intended use for the parcels as it relates to buildings, but we do intend to build a driveway across the property which will provide rear access to our campus. And this is one of the fastest growing schools that we have in the western part of the parish. For that reason, we thought it was incumbent to not only acquire the property, but obviously to have you consider recommending the rezoning to ED1. If any of you have any questions, I'll be glad to address them.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this change? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Yes, ma'am.
Wilson. I live at 127 Perry Road. I stood before you all about 2 years ago when they first built the school, and I was against it. I'm against it now. And could I tell you all why, if y'all have a second to listen?
Yes, ma'am.
When I came back here, and 2 years ago when they was building the school, and told you why I was against it, y'all seemed to act like I didn't know what I was talking about. Since then, I've been having all kind of problems with the traffic from that school. There was an incident where they blocked the driveway when cars are not supposed to be turning there. It really was put in, when y'all put it in order, y'all said it was gonna only be an exit for the school buses. An exit. That's what y'all said. It's not just an exit. It's more than an exit. More than the school buses use it. I had to go out there and ask the lady to move her car from in front of my driveway. She said some words to me. I said some words to her. I said, you see that sign there? That's saying no left turn. That means you're not supposed to be turning there. I said, now you standing, blocking my driveway, trying to make an illegal turn, and I'm telling you to move from blocking my driveway, and you're going to get an attitude with me? Do you know this woman come back 5 o'clock that evening?
All due respect, ma'am, we'd like you to focus on the zoning.
Okay,
not
that's
an
what I'm
incident that
focusing
you had
on.
with any.
Okay, but I want y'all to understand my reason why I'm against it. I need to get this out. This lady came back to my house 5 o'clock that evening. I guess she thought I was the gardener or the housekeeper, complaining. When she seen me come to the door, she like to broke her neck getting back down the steps. I had to let her know, I'm not only the gardener, the housekeeper, but I'm the owner. Now, if I got to deal with stuff like that, I do not want this other part coming out, because where they trying to put it is buffing right into my driveway, right into my property. Now, y'all got away with that subdivision right behind my property, whereas I got to deal with them. But that's a whole nother matter in itself. But like I say, I'm against it. I'm not for it. When I came back here 2 years ago about the school, y'all went against y'all word, what y'all say y'all was going to do, and turn it around completely. Not only do buses exit, buses enter, cars enter, and cars exit. When y'all put that in order, y'all say it was going to be just for the buses to exit. But now it's more than that. It's not only the buses using it. After school hours, you got cars sitting there, don't know who it's a dating place, it's a weed smoking area. The kids go in and out under the gate, back and forward when the school is not in session. It's all kind of stuff that's going on there. I have to watch my kids, my grandkids, 24/7 now, because it's all type of cars that parks there. It's no lighting on Perry Road. No lighting whatsoever. It's only that one light that's coming from the school. Now, if y'all gonna put something there and y'all not gonna pay me no mind or give me no respect, I'm gonna have to go to the news people, because when y'all put that in order, y'all said it was only gonna be an exit for the school buses, and now y'all wanna put another building there with another exit for traffic. You're bringing more traffic. You're tearing up the road as it is. It's just like I told y'all 2 years ago. Y'all, the man gonna tell me about what they doing on Highway 22. What about what the work you gonna do to Perry Road? 4 months into the school, they had to come around in the curb part of Perry and throw down patches of asphalt. This is 4 months into the school. Imagine all the traffic. Perry Road is a road, just like it say. It's not a street, it's not a highway. And y'all bringing traffic, you got a lot of traffic there, now you're gonna bring even more? I mean, give me some respect, and if my word mean anything, if y'all holding this for the public input, I'm giving you my input, and I'm telling you all, I am against it.
Thank you.
Now, if it's come up and I have to go to the news people and help somebody to help me, because I've been trying to get information on how this is run and how y'all do this. I called back to the zoning board, spoke to a woman named Helen.
Ma'am, your point is very clear that you were against it.
Okay, but because when I called your zoning board and spoke to the worker, Helen,
your point has been well taken.
I got a nasty remark from her.
Ma'am, I'm asking you now. Your point is well taken. Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, rebuttal, Mr. Shane.
Mr. Chairman, respectfully disagree with the comments made by the lady, with all due respect to her. I guess to give you some history, time passes by. That school now will be starting its 5th year. The approval that I got from the recommendation from this commission and the approval of zoning from the council was probably 7 or 8 years ago. As you know, structures such as school with that square footage require that traffic plans be filed and approved by the parish. We have had some tweaks made to the traffic circulation plan through the years. I'm advised that as recently as about 2 years ago, there was some tweaking done. The primary use of the driveway onto Paraloo Road is for buses in and buses out. And we understand that if and when we enlarge the footprint of the school, we will also have to modify our traffic study or make a supplement to our traffic study and suggest a traffic plan to the parish, which will be up to your engineers to approve. I think before you tonight, the issue is land use, and I believe that if you look at the size and the I guess the success of Lancaster Elementary School in terms of the number of students that it's servicing, it seems appropriate that this property which abuts be rezoned, again with the understanding that the school board is going to continue to be not only cognizant of its legal obligations to the parish, but also we try to be good neighbors to those that live in that area in hopes that our school can operate peacefully with those that live in that area. I rode Paraloo Road Sunday evening to make my own observations. It would be my belief that there's really only 4 homes that are anywhere near this particular driveway. And it doesn't mean that those 4 homes don't count, just to the contrary. I think it's our job to make sure that we have efficient and safe traffic flow, which we will do if and when we make permanent improvements and submit a new traffic circulation plan to the parish. So I urge that you recommend that the council rezone this property to ED1.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Rebuttal, yes, ma'am? Yes. No, please come to the podium, state your name and your address.
Hello. My name is Rosa Fashon, and I live at 133 Paraloo Road, which is directly across the street from where he's talking about. And let me tell you, we cannot get out of our driveways during the school term. He's talking about he rode through on Sunday. Come through on during the school time, during the school day. The traffic is horrific. Speeding. We can't get out. She's right. We can't get out of our driveways. We have to sit and wait for someone to let us out and beg for someone to let us out. That's not right. There's plenty of room on the 22 side for that school traffic to go in and out of, rather than Paraloo Road. So I am definitely against, and I urge everyone to please consider that. It's not fair to the people. There are 4 houses. They're important homes. We own our homes, and we have struggled to own our homes after Katrina, and we do not want to have to live this way.
Ma'am, address the commission, not Mr. Shane.
Well, I'm saying we do not want to live this way, where we can't get in and out of our own driveways. It's awful. Now, if you're going to leave a buffer and you're going to direct your traffic for the school in and out on Highway 22, that's a different story. But we do not want it on Paraloo Road. My house is important, just like yours is. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Shane, you have about 90 seconds if you wish to make any further comments. At this time, I would close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, Mr. Shane. Earlier, you spoke about that the school purchased 4 lots, or is that 5 lots?
4.
Okay, because I'm looking at the plat, and it says something about 159 A, B, C, D, and E. What-
Correct. They bought A, B, C, and D.
Okay,
E,
so,
they already owned E, and that's
okay,
where
so
the existing
that's an
driveway is.
existing, that's the existing driveway?
Yes, sir. If you look at the Google,
Okay.
Um,
I see it on the Google, I just didn't know if that was the part we're talking about tonight.
correct.
And with these 4 lots, I mean, even though I know this is a zoning thing, what is your intention to do with this?
Well, as I stated earlier, there is no plan to place buildings or what I call permanent improvements on the property at this time. I did say, however, there is a plan to in fact develop an additional driveway that would cross that property to get to the rear of the property, thinking in terms of emergency. There'd be additional access points to get to the rear of the school. Also, if there's construction not on these parcels but on the existing campus, that likewise would allow trucks to get to that area.
Right, I think that would be a good idea, and unfortunately, you don't have access to Highway 22.
Well, we do
do
through
you?
Pine Creek Boulevard, I believe is what it's called.
Okay.
The campus does have an access on Highway 22, but to the east side of the
To the east
campus.
side, and people
It also
actually
was
enter-
designed, though, to have this driveway that connects to Paraloo Road.
Okay,
That was the traffic plan from the beginning.
okay. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Davis to approve, a second by Commissioner Matthews. Commissioner Matthews.
Jeff, this was 4 residential lots before, is that correct?
At one time, it was 4 residential lots.
Okay.
They are no longer restricted to residential use only.
Okay,
They are 4 lots of record,
okay, but they are currently zoned
A4.
A4,
Yes, sir.
okay? And you're seeking to get an ED1 zoning.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So prior to your asking to be rezoned, we could have had 4 houses built there and 4 houses more of traffic put on there.
Absolutely.
The school is there, it's been there 5 or 6 years?
Yeah, this is the 5th year of operation.
Okay.
So there's probably been construction,
Okay.
et cetera, for 7 years, I would say.
So whether we rezone this property ED1 or not, the school is there and it's not going away, okay?
God willing, it is not going away.
Except for maybe another Katrina. We're stuck with the school. And the people there have that school and they have to deal with it. There really doesn't seem to be a big change in going to ED1. I think it will improve the possibility of not having additional traffic on there because we wouldn't have additional houses built on there. Maybe they're going to enlarge the school, but they're going to do that where they have property anyway. So I think this is just a buffer to keep that houses out of there, and I really think that it's the proper thing to do. We already have a motion.
Commissioner Dougherty?
Yes, on the staff report, the zoning class on the west is A2, but on the area, on the drawing that's part of the staff report, it's A4, so it is A4, is that correct? On your zoning staff report, you say,
On the west side, across the street, it's A2. They're going from A4 to ED1, but
no, I know,
across,
but if you look at the surrounding land use on your staff report,
yes,
the west, it says it's A2.
It is.
according to the zoning map that I'm looking at, it's
Maybe I'm looking at it wrong then.
east,
It's
west.
west of the property in question.
It's to the left side.
West of the property in question. Okay, all right. All right, but the property that is being rezoned is A4, right? Okay, all right. All right, I got it. Mr. Shane, just keep your seat. You don't need to come back to the mic. I understand what the lady's saying. We have similar problems on a school very close to where I live, and I think the school board needs to do something like have sheriff's deputies out there or something to keep people from parking along the roadway and really obstructing any kind of a flow of traffic. And that's what she's talking about. It's blocking her driveway. She can't get in and out. And it's not the parish's responsibility, but if it's if they're illegally parked, or if the parish decides to post no parking, then these cars cannot stop. And what happens is the parents are coming to pick up children or drop off children, more pick up children. And because they can't get into the traffic flow pattern on the school, they park out on Paraloo Road or a road, okay? And it would be very helpful to these folks if the sheriff's department could do something to help them out so they can get in and out of their property.
Commissioner Matthews.
I agree with Commissioner Doherty that there's two schools right across from the subdivision I live in, and sometimes there are traffic problems, but that's not the zoning commission's problem. That's the parishes and the sheriff's department going out there and restricting those people from doing what apparently, according to the lady here, there's an illegal left turn sign there, and it's being ignored. That's something for the parish to do. And I would think that the school board would be interested in making sure that those laws are complied with. But this is a zoning question, and I think the zoning question is that this should be rezoned to ED1, and those other questions need to be addressed on a different forum.
We have a motion by Commissioner Davis to approve, a second by Commissioner Matthews. Is there any further discussion? If not, I would ask for a vote. Motion to approve passes. ZC 15-08-062, existing zoning A3 Suburban District, proposed zoning A3 Suburban District, and manufactured housing overlay. The parcel 30.03 acres, the petitioner Fanny G. Pichon, the owner Gordon D. Pichon Sr. and Fanny G. Pichon. The parcel located at the end of Sally Welsh Road, east of Louisiana Highway 434, Ward 6, District 11. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with agricultural uses and residential uses, including manufactured home. Staff does not have any objection to the request and would like to recommend approval.
Is the petitioner here? Sir, would you care, or ma'am, come to the podium, or if you'd more convenient to speak from there? And you can move that microphone down.
Yes, sir.
Would you,
can you hear me?
yes. If you'd state your name and make any comment you'd like, sir.
Gordon Pichon. I'm the owner of the property. We just trying to get this done. We've owned this property for years, and we're just trying to keep it in the family and have it to where kids and grandkids can, you know, have a place.
Thank you, sir. Would you care to make any comment, ma'am? No? Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, at this time I close it to the public and I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Dougherty.
Gordon, on the, you're wanting to put the mobile home overlay on the whole 30 acres?
Right.
Okay, all right. I don't see there's a problem, and I know Gordon and Fanny, they do have several children and several grandchildren, so this would probably be appropriate to go ahead and put the overlay on the 30 acres. Not so moved.
Motion by Commissioner Dougherty, a second by Commissioner Willie. Commissioner Matthews.
It's just concerned that a little bit that on 30 acres with a mobile home overlay over the entire 30 acres, this could turn into virtually a trailer park. and that's, I'm sure, not what we really want that to be, a trailer park. How many trailers do you envision putting on this piece of property?
Well, in the immediate future, just one more.
Okay, there is already a mobile home overlay on this piece of property, is that correct?
That's correct, but to answer your question, after you can put a maximum of 3 mobile homes, and then the 4th one would trigger the mobile home park. So they would have, if they want to put a 4th one, they would either have to re-subdivide or go through the subdivision process of creating a mobile home park.
Okay, so 2 more mobile homes is the maximum they could put on here without triggering a different type of zoning.
Well, it would be the same type of zoning, however, they would have to go through the subdivision process
Yes.
to create a mobile home park.
Yeah, we're not subdividing nothing.
Okay, so it would seem to me it might be just as appropriate to rezone 2 more acres where you all want to put mobile homes rather than rezone the entire 30 acres.
No, sir.
You can only put 2 more mobile homes on the property currently. You understand that?
Yeah, but it costs me just as much to do the whole 30 acres as it does 1 acre. So why not do the whole 30 acres and be done with it?
Well, because you'd be trying to put 30 mobile homes on there at some point in the future, maybe.
No.
That would be the problem.
No.
Well, the next
Mr.
owner
Matthews,
may be
at this
doing it.
point of order, the gentleman stated his intention. That is his intention, and we're becoming argumentative. We have a motion and a second.
Mr. Chairman, I disagree. I'm talking about what could happen in the future. I understand what his intention is, but we need to be concerned with the mobile home overlay, not for today, but for tomorrow and all the tomorrows that come to pass. So, yes, though he intends to put 2 mobile homes on there, the next owner could put 30, and that's a problem, and that's a question.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Dougherty to approve, a second by Commissioner Willie. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Lauren.
I have a question, Helen. Let me make sure I understand before we vote on this thing.
Yes, sir.
If we vote to do the overlay on the whole 30 acres, as the gentleman said, that would be a one-time deal for him.
That's correct.
And he would have the 30 acres, but how many could he put, how many mobile homes could he put on that property, on the 30 acres, without having to come back?
But there's already 1 mobile home on the property, so he could put 2 more.
2 more.
Without having to come back through the full subdivision process.
I want to make sure you understand that, sir. If you do go beyond, what is it, 2 more?
Yeah, a total of 3.
If you go beyond 2 more, you're going to have to come back either way. The 30 acres will have the overlay on it, but once you get past the 3, then the overlay is kaput.
So you're saying that that's it, then it would have to be subdivided, which is something they wouldn't want to do. It's been in their family hundreds of years.
You'd have to come back here.
Yeah, it's not going to be subdivided, and I think if we understood it the first time, when we put the 1 mobile home on for my son that was handicapped, we did the 1 acre. Now, the understanding I had, you can put 3 mobile homes on that 1 acre, but we're not doing it. It's just, it's 1 acre for the kid. So I could have put more mobile homes on there if I wanted to. That's not the intention.
Okay, but understand now, again, not to belabor the point.
Yes, sir.
But if you get this approved for the whole 30 acres, you can only put 2 more mobile homes on it without coming back.
That's fine.
Okay.
It's not worth it. You have 4 children.
Okay. We have a motion to approve and a second. Please vote.
I have a question. Just to make this clear, sorry. Again.
I've called the question. I think this gentleman has made it very clear. I also believe that staff and our overall parish would see that if he went for a permit to go beyond the additional ones, and he went to place a fourth home, that would trigger the mechanism that he would have to come back in front of us. Is that not correct? Okay, so I believe in staff. I think this gentleman has made it abundantly clear as to his intentions, so he can have anywhere on the 30 acres to place the two additional, or three additional. Two additional, wherever they would like. And so at this time, I call the vote. Motion carries. Thank you. ZC 15-08-063, existing zoning, A1 Suburban District, proposed zoning, A1 Suburban District, and manufacturing housing overlay. The parcel, 2.86 acres. The petitioner, Stephen Lee. The owner, Ross D. Lee. The parcel is located on the south side of Drewberry Road, west of South Fitzmaurice Road, being 11 Dewberry Road, Covington, Ward 3, District 2. Staff.
The 2025 Future Land Use Plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses, including manufactured homes. Staff does not have any objection to the request and recommends approval.
Is the petitioner here?
Yes, sir.
If you'd be so kind to come forward and state your name.
My name is Stephen Lee. I live at 265 Summerlinster Drive in Covington. I'm petitioning on behalf of my father, who couldn't be here. He's disabled, to have this property, 11 Dewberry Road, to have an MHO added to it. When I grew up at this site, and we grew up in a manufactured home, and several years ago, it was actually just prior to Katrina, he had medical issues, and he kind of lost the mobile home that was on there, so he was forced to move away, he moved out of town. He's been here for the last 6 years now, living in Abita Springs in a rental, and we just got this property cleared, and he's ready to get back on there and put a mobile home back.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is there anyone else who would wish to speak in favor? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
The motion by Commissioner Casabon, a second by Commissioner Willie to approve. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I would ask for a vote. Motion carries. ZC 15-08-064 has been withdrawn. ZC 15-08-065, existing zoning, HC1 Highway Commercial District and NC4 Neighborhood Institutional District. The proposed zoning, A4A Single Family Residential District. The parcel, 1.32 acres. The petitioner, Danny M. Martin. The owner, Robert Charbonnet, Peter Charbonnet, Barbara Brewer Charbonnet, Jack Charbonnet, Linda Schreiner Charbonnet, Kenny Charbonnet, Jane Stuckey Charbonnet. The parcel is located on the south side of 9th Avenue, east of U.S. Highway 190, west of Falconer Drive, being Square 96, Alexville, Ward 3, District 2. Staff? That was close.
The 2025 Future Land Use Plan calls for the area to be developed as a planned district with a mix of commercial uses. The zoning change is being requested in order to develop the 1.32 acre site with single-family residences on a lot a minimum of 60 feet in width, as required under A4A Single-Family Residential District. Staff does not have any objections to the request, considering that there are some single-family residences across the street from the subject property, and it would provide additional residential units in proximity to the existing and future commercial uses. Staff recommends that the request for A4A designation be approved.
Is the petitioner here? If you please come to the podium, state your name and address.
Good afternoon. I am Danny Martin, 21404 Spring Clover Lane in Covington. I built 3 houses on the north side of 9th Avenue, and have one that I'm currently is under construction, started yesterday. And I have a purchase agreement on the parcel across the street. It's 240 by 240, which would hopefully give me 8 lots. And so we're asking for a zoning change so that I can build some residential homes on the south side of 9th Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of this? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Oh, yes, this is fine. I'll move for approval.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Willie to approve, second by Commissioner Casabon. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I would ask for a vote. Motion carries. ZC 83-07-076, a major amendment to the PUD, Planned Unit Development Overlay, the parcel 188.54 acres, the petitioner Fred Seeger, the owner the estate of Frederick J. Seeger. The parcel is located on the south side of Louisiana Highway 433, west of U.S. Highway 90, north of Lake Pontchartrain, Ward 8, District 13. Staff.
A major amendment to the PUD is being requested to develop a 21.09 acre section of the PUD with 130 single-family resort homes in the place of the previously approved 29 single-family home sites. As shown on the attached plan of the single-family resort home development, walking path, pocket parks, and a recreation area are proposed to be provided. Note that additional information should be provided as to the type of amenities to be provided within the pocket parks and the recreation area. At this time, staff would like to recommend approval of the request for major amendment to the PUD.
Thank you. Mr. Marone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the Commission, Paul Marone on behalf of Mr. Segura, who is the developer of this project. The entire parcel which makes up this particular development is 188.54 acres, which is referenced in the staff report. The parcel that we are proposing to amend the use on is only 21.9 acres. It's an interior parcel of the development. All of this property is part of Wrigley's Estates Phase 3, which was originally approved back in the early 80s. Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the development were constructed and are in existence just to the west of this property, of the 188 acres. Some of you may remember back in 2007, we came in and proposed a major amendment to Phase 3 of Wrigley's Estates to really modernize and update the plan, because what was originally approved back in the early 80s, quite frankly, was not something that made a lot of sense today in the way that we develop and in the market that we're in. At that time, the 21.09 acres, that is the request on this evening, was originally proposed as a multifamily parcel. And we had intended to have the multifamily for this development on that particular parcel. We got to the council, and at that time there was concern about having multifamily in this location by the residents and by the councilman. As a result, we amended our request for this 21-acre parcel and proposed its zoning to be similar and exactly as the standard single family that we had in the rest of the development, with the idea that it was a bit of a holding area, a holding zone, because until we could find something that was more palatable, that was the only zone that was appropriate. So we really felt at that time that this particular 21-acre parcel specifically and this portion of Wrigley's Estates generally would be well suited for multifamily. This particular parcel does not abut any third party. It is totally surrounded by other property owned by Mr. Seeger, and as a result had very little impact, if any, on any of the surrounding neighbors. However, it became clear over the years
that the councilman at the time, and even the subsequent councilmen that we've worked with on this, they were not going to get comfortable with multifamily in this location. And so we were left with the quandary of, what do we do with this parcel? Do we leave it as it is, which is simply standard single-family residential, which we have a lot of already on the ground out there and in the development? Or can we find some other way to develop it to bring another component to Wrigley's Estates? The PUD encourages varying housing types, and we really felt like we needed that in this parcel. One, as I said, because there is so much existing standard single-family residential in the development already, but also because this parcel, if you look at the map, is really a transition zone between that standard residential lot size and the marina commercial. So it seemed like there should be something different there, something to set it apart. So what you have before you is what we've come up with in that regard. We are keeping the property single family. We're not proposing to go to multifamily in any way. But as you'll see, it's a more Floridian feel, if you will. It's very upscale, it's high end, and it's resort-like. It is modeled in some respects out of some of the developments that we see on the Florida coast, like Seaside and Watercolor. Now, I know you're thinking, does Mr. Marone think that the Wrigley's is like Santa Rosa Beach and Seaside? And no, I recognize, and we recognize, that it is not exactly the same. And so we are not suggesting that we are going to replicate what they have there. But by the same token, we do feel like utilizing that criteria, the new urbanism approach that they have there for this particular parcel, gives us something different, gives us something unique in this area. So the product that we're proposing to deliver here is not what you see exactly at Seaside and Santa Rosa Beach. That's not it. But we do intend to employ the same high-end criteria to give a product to this area that fits with the Wrigley's. So is it going to be something different than you see on the standard single-family residential lots? Yes, it is. Is it going to be a bit higher end? Yes, it is. And you see some of that material in your packet. But we think and believe that it's well suited, that this property is well suited for that. And so we've been asked to keep the parcel single-family residential, and we're doing that. We wanted something different, and we believe that we've achieved that with something that will complement what we have there already, the marina commercial, as well as the standard residential to our west, but give us a different niche, a different look, which we really think is also in keeping with the PUD. So we've worked hard to come up with a plan that fits within all the criteria that we've been asked to work within. We think this plan does that. Your staff has recommended approval. We would respectfully request your approval and recommendation onto the council in favor of our petition this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Moran.
Thank
you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of this? Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Davis.
So you're talking about 130 parcels, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and what would it have been if we would have left it as single family?
I believe it was about 29 parcels under the standard residential.
Okay, now it looks like the majority of this property is in the flood zone velocity V12.
Yes.
Or V15, excuse me.
Yes.
Okay. You don't have any problems with getting people in and out of this area in a flood zone?
Well, no. I mean, they certainly there is.
And they're all raised
they would be buying on the Wrigley's. I mean, they're on this waterfront. So
but they're all raised homes too.
Absolutely, they're raised homes. Absolutely.
Okay. And you'll meet the standards.
Absolutely, all the velocity requirements for the raised homes. Absolutely, yes.
Okay. I kind of like it, to be honest. I really kind of like it.
Commissioner Matthews.
Helen, Paul, just don't go too far. Do we have any regulations on what a resort home is, the setbacks and height restrictions and all of those things?
What, because it's a PUD, they established their own setback, and if I'm not mistaken, in your packet, there was some examples of what it should look like.
I know, but what I asked was, does the parish have any regulations concerning something called a resort home?
No, not particularly.
So what they are planning, Paul, is pretty much zero lot lines like they have in Seaside?
Not zero lot line. There are setbacks, but they're limited. They're smaller, shorter setbacks than you would typically see.
Can you tell me what the setbacks would be?
I can't if my eyes were good enough to read this.
Where's the bag?
I couldn't tell.
Yeah, it's 2.5 side yards setback. So
2.5 feet.
5 feet between the buildings.
Okay. What about front and rear? Don't.
I believe that the.
I couldn't tell.
I believe that the front. Well, let me make a distinction before I answer on the front. The front is going to be the water side, so that's not going to be for the parcels that front the waterways. Those are 50 feet off of the waterway. The ones that will front the streets are less than that, and 30.
30
Thank you.
feet from
Yes.
the street?
Yes.
Okay. A 2.5-foot setback that gives you 5 feet between these buildings. How do you get in there to do maintenance?
There's room to do that. That's not uncommon. I mean, we have zero lot lines where we're on the line. These are tight. That's true, but there is still enough area in there to do the necessary maintenance.
I've seen houses and have friends that have houses in Seaside, and that's a problem with Seaside even.
Sure.
It's so tight that they pay a premium to get people in there to do anything because of that.
Right.
And there is some grumbling with some of those people because of that. This would be 29 lots, 29 residents if it was single family, and it's going to be 130.
That's correct. So it's about an A4A density.
Okay.
Is about what it amounts to.
And if you had multifamily in there, about how many families would you have had?
I believe the multifamily, it was significantly higher than the 130. Okay. Because at the time we were proposing a high-rise building in the center of that parcel with parking around it and amenities. So it was, the numbers were significantly higher than you would see with this plan.
Well, if we were going to put Seaside here in the Wrigley's, that really sounds nice. I just don't envision that 5 years from now, if I run out to the Wrigley's, I'm not going to see Seaside. I'm going to see something different. And for that, I'm not really in favor of it.
Commissioner Dougherty?
Well, after, looking at it, listening to what Paul has said and staff's comment supporting the major amendment, I'd move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Dougherty to approve, a second by Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Casabon, do you no further questions?
No, I was just going to say, I think it's been thought out, and it goes into what is there now, the development, and how we're developing now. At 29 houses, what the market is, I don't envision them building 29 large estate homes in this particular area, and I also concur that I approve.
Commissioner Davis.
Yes, I think the question with the setbacks, the small amount of setbacks from 5 feet, you gotta remember all these homes gotta be raised anyway. So you'd be able to drive your zero-turn mower underneath the house and go cut the grass.
Is any further discussion of? We have a motion by Commissioner Dougherty to approve, a second by Commissioner Davis. I would ask for a vote. Motion carries. ZC 13-04-022, a major amendment to the PUD Planned Unit Development District. The parcel 16.811 acres. The petitioner, Mark Malcolmus. The owner, Step 3 Investments, LLC. The parcel is located on the end of Andrew Drive, east of Hollycrest Lane, Ward 3, District 5. Staff?
Petitioner is requesting a major amendment to the PUD, which consists of an amendment of the previously approved setbacks for the neighborhood, courtyard and cottage lots. As you can see here in the staff reports, you have in the chart what was originally approved and what is proposed. I submitted to you just a few minutes ago just a revised staff report and a revised drawing. We just had a few modifications, and that's the reason why I submitted the revised plan. And at this time, staff would like to recommend approval of the request for major amendment to the PUD.
Thank you. Mr. Marone.
Thank you, Mr. Manella. Paul Marone again, on behalf of the developers for Audubon Oaks. We are asking to amend the PUD for the sole purpose of modifying the setbacks throughout the development. You may remember this project was approved through zoning several years ago. We have received tentative and preliminary, and in fact the infrastructure is under construction as we speak. We hope to be in a position to be before you sitting as the Planning Commission in September looking for final approval. Ahead of that, though, we would like to amend the setbacks for a number of reasons. One, as we have worked on the project, the end product, the homes that we intend to construct there have been refined a bit, and we do intend to go with a zero lot line concept on these homes, which is similar to the subdivision that is immediately adjacent to us. In addition, there are some drainage issues and servitudes in the development and in adjacent developments that we really need to account for with the rear setbacks on some of those lots. So the amendment to the side setback is a result of wanting to go to the zero lot line concept. The amendments to the rear setbacks, where we are by and large increasing the setback on the rear, is to accommodate drainage servitudes in areas that are there to make sure that we don't have any problem of having construction too close to it or impeding those servitudes in any way. So just to be clear, because it is a bit confusing as to what setbacks apply to which lots. If you have the plan in front of you, lots 1 through 25, which are all along the southern end of the development, and 42 through 48, which are in the middle and adjacent to the retention pond, will all have a 10-foot setback. Lots 26 through 40, which run along our boundary with Hollycrest, will have a 20-foot rear setback. That is an area where we have an existing drainage servitude that we've got to make sure and accommodate. Lot 41 is a 15-foot setback, and then lots 49 through 67, which run along Hollycrest and then also along the existing Orchard subdivision, is 15 feet, again to accommodate a drainage area that is at the rear of these lots. So at this point we have no homes constructed, obviously, because the infrastructure is still being put in place. We're not modifying our lot sizes. We're not modifying our density in any way. We're simply asking to modify the setbacks as I've explained for the purposes of delivering the product that we think would fit best, and quite frankly the product that has been very successful in our adjacent subdivision. So with that said, we would respectfully request your approval and would answer any questions that any of the commissioners may have.
Thank you, Mr. Marone. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of this change? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Please approach the podium, state your name and address, sir.
I'm Rene Wagasbeck, and I reside at 8 Hollycrest Lane in Covington, and I'm opposed to the setback change. Part of the reason why is actually a good thing that the development hadn't occurred by now, because none of us had any idea how much we were impacted by the noise level of a subdivision that is north of what's happening now, but because of the clearance and the things that have occurred over time, we realized, well, we're picking up on noise from a subdivision called King's Forest, which is right at, well, actually, I guess it's south of the subdivision, proposed subdivision, Audubon Oaks. Having property closer to us and having that impact us from a noise standpoint, not to mention what it could do from a flooding standpoint, is what I object to. And that's one of the biggest problems I have. They actually want to move closer to us than the original proposal. The landmass hasn't changed. The parcel hasn't changed. In my thinking, the proposal should have been from the get-go to what they're asking for now, but after the fact, midstream, they want to make changes to the construction. And in some ways, I'm glad, because we would have never been here to address you had we not been impacted by noise level from the subdivision that abuts them on the opposite side, which is King's Forest. So in some ways, it's experiential too, and we've learned from it. Had it been set up and proposed from the beginning, we probably wouldn't even be here now, because we wouldn't know the difference of how it could impact our subdivision. But in actuality, they want to move closer to us, and we have a real problem with that. Side setbacks don't bother me. The rear setbacks do bother me. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition? Yes, ma'am.
Stella Machard, and I own several units in the Hollycrest condominium subdivision. We're being severely impacted with the drainage issues. I've called planning and zoning on several occasions. When we had all the rains, all of the clay from that development is just literally pouring down our road. And they've tried to divert some of it by putting hay bales and sort of some diversion, but it really hasn't stopped the clay going from that development down into our subdivision and down our road and clogging our drains. And I just would like to know what the developer plans to do to, correct that for us and prevent it from happening when we get the rains.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition? Yes. Helen, if you would be kind enough to lower the microphone.
I was going to say, whoever talking way tall. I live at 16 Hollycrest.
And your name?
Tina Hamilton.
Thank you.
I live at 16 Hollycrest, and I don't quite understand why he's asking for a zero tolerance and changing all of this. What? It sounds like we lose, he gains. So, what's the benefits of him going to a zero tolerance? I mean, he says he's not adding any houses or anything in, so why would he go to a zero tolerance if he's not changing the number of the units or anything?
Okay.
I don't understand that.
That's your question to the commission?
Yes, and like they're all saying about the drainage, our retention pond, however they got the drainage going, our retention pond stays full for most probably 3 days, when it used to, run off maybe a day it would take. I mean, granted, we either go from raining its butt off to no rain, but when it has been raining, the pond's been full. And, I mean, it takes 3 days to drain out. So all we would need is one more day, and a couple of the houses would be flooded. So I still think we need to address the drainage for that subdivision over there, even on Hollycrest side.
Okay, well, we're specifically speaking of this one. The drainage, your
The
point's
drainage on
one taken.
Hollycrest side, and what's this zero tolerance thing? I mean, it sounds like they're trying to put more units in, and he's saying no.
Okay. Staff, would you care to address what a zero tolerance is?
One of the requested amendment is to go on a side to reduce from 0 and 5 feet. It was originally 5-foot setback on the sides. So basically, what the request is for the side yard is that it could vary between 0 lot line to 5 foot.
Thank you for the clarification. Yes, ma'am. Wish to speak in opposition? Yes. Please approach the podium and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Yvette Wagensback. I live at 26 Hollycrest Boulevard. And the problem that I have right now is we are just inundated with dust. They have leveled it off, but just a tiny wind and our whole subdivision is impacted with dust. I mean, we have to change our air conditioner filters about once a week. And a lot of our neighbors have been having problems with their breathing, and it just seems like, something should be done. They put up a little barrier, which it's not a fence, it's just like a cloth, and it doesn't do anything to retain the dust. And that's pretty much the problem I've been having. It's just, we had a problem initially with the trucks going back and forth where all of our pictures were falling off the walls in our house. It was such they were going like 90 miles an hour back and forth. Now we don't have that problem anymore, but the dust just has settled and it's not going anywhere except in our homes.
And this is due to the construction, ma'am?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, Mr. Marone, would you care to rebut?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think there's a little bit of confusion about what we're proposing and why we're proposing it and the impact on Hollycrest. And let me see if I can't clear that up a little bit. With regards to Mr. Wagasback's comments about us wanting to move closer to them, just the opposite is the case. We are asking to increase the setback along Hollycrest, which means that we are moving further away from Hollycrest, not closer to. And the purpose of that is because there is a drainage ditch and servitude that runs along our common line that we want to be very sensitive to. So I may not have made that perfectly clear for everybody, and particularly if you weren't looking at the plat, that may not have been clear, but we are. We're not asking to move closer to Hollycrest. We're asking to restrict it so that the back buffer, the back setback, if you will, is in fact larger. And with regards to the side setbacks, again, the side setbacks as originally approved were 5 feet. So what we're proposing is between 1 and 5 feet so that you can have a common wall, which basically amounts to a courtyard wall to the neighbor, which we see in many of the developments. That will have absolutely zero impact on anybody in Hollycrest, none whatsoever. That is merely a design guideline. Again, we're not asking to increase the number of lots. We're not asking to increase the number of units in any way. We're simply asking to modify that setback for the type of home that we're looking to build there. The noise and the dust, the only thing that I would say, I'd say a couple of things about that. One, obviously they're not zoning issues. I recognize that, and I know that the commission does too, but I also want to be sensitive to the concerns that that the ladies have expressed. We have had several calls through the course of constructing the project. We have tried to be responsive to each one of those calls. In that vein, I will be talking to my client about the runoff and the clay that may be getting into the streets of Hollycrest. And to the extent that that is happening and that we can prevent that, I will tell you that we will do that. And my clients will be apprised of that this evening, and we'll look into that in the morning, as well as the dust. Obviously, both situations will be remedied when we're complete. We are close to being complete, as I said before, but we will commit to the residents that are here, as well as to this commission, that we will do our very best to address those items starting tomorrow morning. Again, we are asking to modify the setbacks to increase the rear setbacks. There is not one rear setback on this property that we're asking to decrease the size of. The rear setbacks were 10 feet. There are some that remain at 10. At Hollycrest, they go to 20 along the south side, and they go from 10 to 15 along the east side. So it's a net gain for our neighbors in Hollycrest. And the impact on our neighbors is neutral, if not an improvement. So with that said, we'd respectfully request your approval to amend the PUD to have the setbacks that we've proposed.
Thank you, Mr. Marone. Is there anyone in opposition who would wish to speak? Mr. Wagspat.
Yes, and in many ways, I probably need better clarification. I was called today by Marty Gould, who was our representative in the area. He was the one that gave me the information that I'm acting on. He was the one that possibly misinformed me that they were building closer. And again, my biggest objection is the noise level, the privacy, and any impact that it may have in terms of flooding that could impact our area adversely. I'm acting on information that could very well be bad information, so I'm asking that this not be ruled on tonight. Give us, now that we have more clarification, that it actually be put on hold until we have a better understanding of its impact. And that's what I'm asking. Because again, I'm acting on information, and I tried to gather this information. We've made numerous calls on it, but no one actually has been able to give me an answer. I talked with Marty Gould today about 2 hours before this session. He said, get over there and object to it more or less, because they're going to be building closer to you. And if you're bothered with the noise level that you're already experiencing from other areas around you, as well as the flooding, you may want to get to this particular meeting and address it. And I promised him that I would, because he knows how I feel about that. As far as these people, this developer being a good neighbor, they are not. They've never done anything that they said they were going to do so far. We're still stuck with lots of dust, lots of debris. They continue to use a road that they weren't supposed to use to access the subdivision. We had to appeal to Marty and the parish to construct no entry signs on an area that they were not supposed to enter. Now what we're experiencing is construction companies pulling up to that particular sign and just walking over to the site. So these are not good neighbors. They have not been good neighbors so far. No one has been sensitive to the people in Hollycrest. So whether that's going to happen at a later date remains to be seen, but it has not been demonstrated so far. Thank you.
Thank you. And so you would recommend a postponement, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I'm actually objecting to the project, but since I'm not fully understanding of it, as I was just told, then I want further clarification of it. I still really don't understand it, so it's important that, you know, that I would get clarification. Although it does bother me a little bit that midstream they could make changes in their plans, you know, and that does bother me somewhat. I mean, the land mass, the parcel has not changed in its dimensions for them to come back and make an amendment to it. You know, I think they're basically trying to leverage it out for their gain, not for ours.
Thank you,
yes,
sir. Thank you. Is there anyone else in the rebuttal? You have about 30 seconds.
I think I would like to clarify that the setbacks will be a distinct improvement. The larger setbacks on the rear adjacent to Hollycrest. And I had spoken with Mr. Malcolmus, and he promised he would erect an 8-foot wooden fence, and I would just like to make sure that we do get the fence along the boundary between Hollycrest and this new subdivision.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Marone, you have about 1 minute if you wish to make any final comment.
Very briefly, we're just here about setbacks. That's all we're here about. There is no negative impact whatsoever on our neighbors at all with modifying these setbacks. Quite frankly, there's no reason to table this. The request, I believe, is clear. Quite frankly, to deny the request would then have us putting homes potentially closer than we're proposing. So it would be in their interest. If their interest is they want us further away from their lot line, our request does that. So we would ask for your approval. And I'm surprised that Mr. Gould, who knows how to get in touch with me, has my number, would not have asked Mr. Wagasback to call me directly, because I would have been glad to explain this to him. And I'll still be glad to explain this to him after the fact, but we would respectfully ask for a vote this evening on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. This time I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Paul, just for clarification, your earlier presentation, you said that you're changing the side setbacks from 1 to 5. That was a verbal, but in our on the agenda of information here, we have 0 to 5.
Right.
So it is 0 to 5.
It is 0 to
1
5. That's correct. It's 0 to 5. That's correct.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Richard.
Yes, commissioners and members of the public, there's some concern about this development. Obviously, you don't want it, but that's not what we're here to rule on this evening. Basically, that horse has already left the barn. We have a PUD that's been approved. We're not here to debate whether or not that PUD can be rescinded. What we're doing here this evening is talking solely about a setback, which, based on what we've been told and what we're looking at, is an actual improvement. So I move to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Richard to approve, a second by Commissioner Lauren. Commissioner Casabon.
Yes, I just wanted Mr. Wagasback to understand, as Mr. Richard said, that this is a PUD that was voted on, and a PUD, the number of lots and everything is established at the point of zoning. And we're looking at, as they said, on an improvement to this. If you have any other, it sounds like you have, some of the people have talked to the developer, and these are issues that it sounds like he's trying to address with the setbacks of not being that close. But this, again, is just a matter of the setbacks. And I concur with Mr. Richard.
Commissioner Matthews.
Paul, just a couple of quick questions. By changing the side boundary line setbacks, are we going to be changing the size of the buildings that are going to be constructed?
No. No.
And these are all going to be one-story buildings?
There's a possibility that there would be some 2-story buildings there, but most will be 1-story, yes.
Okay, and we're not going to be putting even a possible 2-story closer to the lot lines in any of these?
No.
Okay. I spoke to Mr. Gould myself this week, and he was under the impression that the lot lines, the rear setbacks, would be moved much closer to particularly Hollycrest, and that, again, that's not the point. That's not going to happen.
That's correct.
They're going to be 20 foot instead of 15 foot.
That's correct.
Okay. And some of these homes with these 0 lot lines are going to have common walls. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. And you said something about a patio. I didn't understand the difference.
Yeah, it's a, what happened, what you see is that the side setbacks are 0 and 5. So if this is my lot, I'll have a 5-foot setback on this side, but my wall will be on the property line. That wall will then form the brick courtyard for the next
So
home.
they'll be offset.
Yes, yes. You
Five
would
foot
never
zero,
have
5 foot zero.
you would not have common living walls together.
Okay.
That was
Okay, so 0 on the left, 5 on the right, and so on down the line?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
That answers my questions. Thank you, Paul.
We have a motion by Commissioner Richard and a second by Commissioner Lauren to approve. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I now ask for a vote. Motion carries. Thank you. Is there any old business? If there's any new, I would like to recognize recently appointed District 13 Councilwoman Michelle Blanchard, who is attending our zoning. My understanding is to further understand the roles of this commission and to observe how we conduct ourselves and our responsibilities. And I thank her for being here for that. With that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn. Thank you. There you go. All my goodies.